Hi, today we're going to do a small presentation about who you are, or what you are, or but all your life you probably presumed that you knew who you were, and you never really understood a lot of the things that were happening. So this little presentation may help you to understand who you are, or who am I? Am I a name, or am I a man? Or a woman? But understanding the difference will lead us to some very, very different conclusions. So when you were born, your mother or father filled out a form similar to the form below, okay, which is, it's pretty standard in most countries. It'll be slightly different, but it'll have information like where you're born, your Christian names, your mother and father's name, etc. We're not going to go too deep into the form on this presentation because we've done it in another one, but your mother and father filled it out to the best of their knowledge at the time. But unfortunately, my father didn't know what he was doing, and the details in column 3, if you have a look at the details in column 3 there, where he entered it, we'll go a bit closer here, we'll bring it up at, it says, if child still born, to be entered in this column, or to be noted in this column. Now, unfortunately, that made us stillborn. So that set a chain of events into place that we need to rectify, because the register, by entry into his book, entered the stillborn and issued a birth certificate with a name on it. The name on the birth certificate is what allows the man to trade in commerce, and that's how we have done everything. All our driver's licenses, bank accounts, everything have been with the birth certificate as a means of identification. But it says on the birth certificate you can't do that. So a born certificate, however, would allow the man to be free. So now we need to explore what a born certificate is. Right, name is a noun. Noun, the part of a speech that is used to name a person, place, thing, quality, or action. Okay, so let's look a bit further into a noun and see nouns name people, places, and things. One class of nouns is abstract. Your 5 senses cannot detect this group. It cannot be seen, heard, smelt, taste, or touched. Okay, so your name is actually an abstract noun. Being a fixture on paper, you can't be seen or heard. So just try this experiment. Write your name on a piece of paper, and it doesn't matter how much you talk to that piece of paper, it can never answer you back. It's a fiction. It's on paper. It's dead. Whenever you give your name, or answer to your name, or sign anything in your name, you cannot be seen or heard. Try it. Write it on the paper. You cannot. It will not answer you. The living man can, but the paper cannot answer you. And this is the major reason that we never ever go to court, because we cannot be seen or heard. It's a fictitious. Only corporations go to the court. We have to now try and identify who we are, man or corporation. We're going to use our printout to break this presumption of whether we're a man or a corporation. Now, in some places around the world, you will have a birth certificate. Here in New Zealand, we have a birth certificate and then a separate one called a printout. So don't be confused. Okay, now let's look into what happened. When you were born, you were delivered in the delivery room, and delivery creates a trust. Delivery creates a trust. So let's look at the parts of that trust. There's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, or in religious terms, the Holy Trinity. So we need to explore the trust relationship a bit further and see which part everyone has to play in this jolly little threesome. Okay, John 14 tells us, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Now there's a big, big clue. No one comes to the Father except through me, through Jesus or Christ or Christian. So the Father, the Son must go through the Holy Ghost to inherit the Father's estate. All right, have we got that? The Holy Ghost is the third party in this, but it's kind of a transient role, so we're going to have a look a bit further and see what the roles get further and further and more involved. So the Father is the surname. Thou shalt not take thy father's name in vain. The Father is also, or the surname is also the crown. A lot of misconceptions here, but I can assure you that I have tested it in court, and you are the crown. And the Father was also the creator. The Father created his Son. His only begotten Son, unfortunately, he gave him names, and the given names have got him into a lot of trouble. But the Son is the de jure party, or the only truthful party in this, and he is the only one who can give life to this trust. But we have to now know how to do that. So let's look into the role of the Holy Ghost. Now this is a vacant position. It's a vacant position. It needs an agent to come in there. So let's have a look at a bit further into it. Anyone can fill the role of the Holy Ghost. So if we want to do it, we must enter as the person's personal representative, or Christian. That is how the Son comes to the Father, is through Christ, Christian. We have to be born again Christian. How do we know this? Because the Wills Act 2007, in the interpretation section, which is section 6, it tells us personal representative means administrator, executor, or trustee. Okay, so what we need to look at here is becoming the administrator or the executor. We do not want to be the trustee. The trustee always pays. So we need someone else to fill that role. Okay, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, again, getting deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. If a mercantile agent fills this role, now a mercantile agent is anyone with a commission. Police, IRD, courts, anyone who wants to raid your trust account, that's the trust set up in your name, they come in as a mercantile agent with a commission. And here's how they do it. Well, in New Zealand, this is how they do it. They come in under the District Courts Act 1947. Section 49 of that act tells us, trustees, once again, trustees, executors, and administrators. Any trustee, executor, or administrator may sue and be sued in a court in like manner as if he were a party in his own right. Now, they do not have the right, but they can act as if they were a party in their own right. Without joining us or any of the parties beneficially, because we are the beneficiary, the Son is the beneficiary, without any of the parties beneficially interested in the trust or estate, and shall be considered as representing such parties in the proceedings. So therefore they come in as an agent for the Crown, or an agent for us. And then the court, under section 2, the court may at any stage of the proceeding order any of such parties to be made parties to the proceeding. So therefore, if we dishonour them in any way, we immediately become a party to it. But as they have come in as executors or administrators, they then give us the role of trustee, and we pay the bill. Okay, now let's look at the difference between birth and born, because this is the key to it, and will show you the different roles between the public and the private side. Now, what we're looking at is having a name on the birth side, which is the public side, or the debit side of the ledger, and on the credit side of the ledger, we have an identity. Ask a cop or anyone in the military for their name, and they just give you their serial number. Okay, that's their identity. Because they're a public agent, they don't have to give us a name because they're operating in private, so they give us their identity. Okay, the name applies for privileges, applies for bank accounts, and remains a child. We have to be protected because we never grow up. We cannot be seen or heard. We're a child forever unless we do something about it, which is to claim back our estate with an identity so that we become sovereign. But when we do, we must notify everyone ourselves because we're no longer getting the privileges of the public side. On the public side, you also have the disadvantages. Right, we've already established that the public has a name. Okay, so on the private side, we can be Christian. The public side, as we've already said, is dead. The private side, or the credit side of the ledger, we're alive. On the public side, we're a corporation or treated as a corporation. That's why they can drag us into court. On the private side, as long as we stay on the private side, we can be sovereign. On the public side, we have a reserve bank. On the private side, we have the treasury. When you're dealing with the reserve bank, you must buy stuff with reserve bank currency. On the private side, we set off. The public side perpetuates debt while the private side balances the books. I know what I'd rather do. On the public side, we have ego. On the private side, we have spiritual. We have argument. And where do we go when we have argument? We go to the court. The judge says, I've heard argument. I've listened to your arguments. On the private side, we must be peaceful. On the public side, we have dishonor. And on the private side, we are honorable. We honor every presentment that they give to us. On the public side, we have the Reserve Bank coat of arms, and note that the keys point down to the kingdom of hell, whereas on the private side, the keys to the kingdom of heaven on earth are on the private side. Now, once again, John 14:6, Jesus answered, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Indel that upon your brain because you need to now establish an identity. And this can only be done if you know how to go to the Father through Christ, Christian. So we'll now show you how to obtain your printout. This is in New Zealand. This is the way that you do it. You'll go to this website, Department of Internal Affairs. I'm sure it'll be the same in most countries around the world. And this is what ours looks like. That's the button you press there to get your birth certificate or your printouts. Now, don't be confused. In other places, you have a long form birth certificate and short form birth certificate, etc. But this is the form that we fill out to obtain our printouts or birth certificates. But this is what you want there, the printouts. And I'm going to show you the quantity there. You may want more than one of these. I'm not going to tell you why, but you may want more than one. Or if you're not in New Zealand, I'll show you how to do it. Google is your friend, but you don't seem to understand Google is your friend. Someone thinks you're too lazy to use Google before asking a question. Once you start using Google and looking stuff up for yourself, your neural pathways open and more information flows through. Trust me. Now, when your printout does finally arrive, or if you're overseas and you get your birth certificate, the proper one, hold it up to the light and you will see that it is on security paper, which gives you undeniable proof that you are a security for the national debt. Now, we need to establish our identity. The number on your printout and your given names is your identity.